nice.
Mr. Salvatore, thank you very much for talking to Pickingalpha.com. And our first question is, how do you see commodity prices, specifically agricultural commodity prices, grow or go down in the reflection to oil prices and gas prices dropping?
Well, we know that agricultural commodities respond very much as every commodity to demand and supply. We know the demand is there because of population growth and there are many people who are still starved in the world, but also is affected very much by weather and other conditions which are not man-made and cannot be corrected. We know that the reduction in petroleum prices also means reduction in energy costs and therefore reduce the cost of production. To that extent, they should facilitate or increase output. But they are so much affected by prices, and they are so unstable, these prices, and we know that in the near term, the prices of commodities, primary commodities, but also food, are under pressure. But in the medium term, we can always say that there is always a demand there, a growing demand, and therefore, in the medium term, they should not be under pressure by price pressure.
Thank you. And one more question. There is a lot of talk about upcoming housing prices in China. And how do you see that affect European economy, which outsources a lot to China? Not only European economy outsources a lot of its work to China, but specifically European economy. How do you think this will affect?
Well, the housing, China faces two major problems immediately. One is the glut of housing. It's incredible. If one travels outside the main cities, there are many cities that Westerners never visit, but there are cities of 500,000, 700,000, which are big cities by our standards, which are completely uninhabited. You have huge buildings, and so we have a terrible housing problem in China. And then we have non-collectible excessive debt in China, and there is the banking sector, the unorthodox, the non-common banking sector, and excessive debt. However, China's huge reserves, it can manage these things, but this also creates slow growth. These are the conditions. You see, China grew primarily from foreign investments and from exports. Now, it cannot continue that way. China knows this, and it is trying to restructure the economy toward more domestic consumption, but it's not going very well, and that's why the growth rate is slowing down. And the prediction is that it was inevitable that at one point the growth would start coming down. But now it's coming down fairly consistently, not rapidly, but fairly consistently, to the point where we will face perhaps growth of 4 or 5% in 3 or 4 years or 5 years for sure.
Do they see wage increase in China in many industries, or still the wages are very low?
Well, wages are already increasing in China to the point where they are losing many industries to the other countries which are lower on the scale, Vietnam, some of the poorer countries. And I tell China, this is a sign of success, not a problem, because you give up those industries which are based on unskilled labor and low wages. It is a sign of success, and it's natural that you lose those and you move upstream. However, China knows that it needs to grow at least 5-6% per year in order to create the jobs for the millions of new graduates, college graduates. You see, 10 years ago, for every graduate of an MBA program, that graduate could choose between 3 or 4 jobs. Now there are 3 or 4 graduates looking after the same job. And China knows that for internal stability, they need a growth of 5-6% per year, because otherwise the graduates are people who sacrifice, who expect a benefit from their skills or their newly acquired education, and if they don't find it, they are not as peaceful as people on the farm. So China knows this, and it has somehow China will go to extremes to prevent the growth rate from going below 6%, because they know that is very dangerous from a political stability point of view. So we are in this together.
Yes, we are.
You are from Canada. I know that they are acquiring a lot of natural resources from Canada. The United States doesn't build the famous pipeline, which is crazy, which doesn't make any sense. But China will do everything to prevent the growth rate from going down, and it is going down. So that means with a huge housing bubble, with major industries, the steel industry, overexpanded. China could supply the steel for all of the world. And so now they said, we are going to dismantle some plants, excessive plants, yes, but they are dismantling the plants that they wanted to dismantle because they were no longer efficient, not the ones that are producing. So China needs more restructuring than it is doing, and they will do dramatic things to prevent its growth rate from going below 6%, as it is expected to go in the next few years.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us.
Pleasure.